the aid to Ukraine has become a political trend in 2022. For example, on the second day of his appointment, the new Minister of Defense of France, Sébastien Lecornu, went to visit, no, not French, but Ukrainian soldiers in the Percy Military Hospital in the commune of Clamart, and the hospital is Les Invalides in the 17th district of Paris. And this was the first time that the French Defense Department published the information about wounded Ukrainians who were being treated in their country before the French didn't even know about it. A similar situation is happening in Germany, despite all the difficulties the Germans have to face. Inflation in Germany, the EU's largest economy, has once again set a new record since February and reached 10.4%, according to the Federal Statistics Office data. Food prices are up 20% from last year, and soaring energy costs have made warm home a luxury for Germans. However, the government continues to help Ukrainians and has come up with a new way to spend money on the treatment of the Ukrainian military in German hospitals. What television shoots and shows optimistic stories about. True, they seem optimistic only at first glance. The Luzhin Hospital Aachen Clinic has become one of the key places for the concentration of wounded Ukrainians where they receive assistance, and the senior physician of the clinic, Yulia Tarshis, said most of the soldiers have problems with resistant infections.
The problem with most of the guys is that they have not injuries only, but drug-resistant infections as well.
I had a very serious bacterial infection. Where I picked it up, no one knows. And the worst thing is, there was no cure for it at all. I was lucky that German doctors have found an experimental, uncertified drug for me. The test drugs were very expensive. They cost about 2,000 to 4,000 euros per vial. I had to take 3 per day, and the treatment was for 6 weeks.
That is, the cost of one Ukrainian military man can be over 350,000 euros, which looks rather eccentric in the context of all European calls for total savings. By the way, according to Bloomberg estimates, Europe's losses from the energy crisis due to the Russian-Ukraine conflict will have already reached $1 trillion, which raises the question, which fund or state of which country pays for such expensive treatment in German clinics? And how did it happen that financial assistance to Ukraine was extrapolated into trials of new drugs? In addition, talk about massive antibiotic-resistant infections among Ukrainian soldiers sounds frightening for another reason. The recent scandal with the network of American biological laboratories in Ukraine, the existence of which has long been denied by both Ukraine and the States.
Does Ukraine have chemical or biological weapons?
Ukraine has biological research facilities.
Following Victoria Nuland's Senate speech in March, the U.S. Department of Defense released a briefing note stating the United States has been working to strengthen Ukraine's biosecurity and defense and improve human and animal health oversight. However, the revealed facts completely contradicted the statement. Indeed, in addition to the fact that over the past 15 years, the sanitary and epidemiological situation in Ukraine has deteriorated significantly, an increase in the incidence of brucellosis, Crimean Congo fever, West Nile fever, African swine fever, as well as uncharacteristic expansion of carriers' ranges, which have been recorded in the areas where laboratories are located. Therefore, it would be interesting for many to find out exactly which infections, which are not amenable to traditional medicines, are now being treated in German hospitals, as well as who the manufacturer of untested pharmaceuticals and the main beneficiary in their testing. At the same time, find out if the United States is trying to transfer its military biological activities to Germany, using socially unprotected Ukrainians for this. Because it is precisely this insecurity that makes them an easy target for any medical manipulation, including the most terrible ones, such as the illegal removal of their organs for subsequent sale and transplantation, information about which repeatedly appeared earlier and began to appear more and more often now. For example, the widow of one of the soldiers of the 14th Brigade, Alexandra Elisova, began to massively disseminate information that her husband was injured, but they corresponded while they were in the hospital, where he was being treated by foreign doctors. and soon she was suddenly informed of the death of her husband. The woman tried to get the truth from local doctors, who said many lives can be saved, but foreigners decide differently. The Ukrainian media noted an outbreak in deaths among the wounded military personnel of the armed forces of Ukraine in Kapyansky, Krasnolimansky, and Artyomovsky directions, where earlier the intelligence of the DPR noticed a brigade of criminal transplantologists led by the notorious Elizabeth Debreu, whose name appeared in similar charges in 2014, beginning of the conflict. Then former SBU officer turned to WikiLeaks, who said that he personally worked illegally with criminal transplantologists, whose work was supported in Ukraine at the highest level, and the process was supervised by Mikhail Saakashvili's wife, Sandra Relovs.
The whistleblower gave the names and surnames of all of the generals and colleagues who issued false consents for donation and documents about the missing, explaining that many of them had their organs cut out while they were alive. He also indicated the exact places of mass graves and with the number of corpses.
However, international organizations did not check this information. The SBU denied it, and the Ukrainian media made accusations of Kremlin propaganda, as always. It is, of course, impossible to verify this data now, but the extent to which Ukraine is actively simplifying the laws on transplantation raises alarming suspicions. In December of 2021, the Verkhovna Rada adopted Law Number 5831 on regulating the issue of transplantation of human anatomical materials, according to which permission to extract biomaterials can now be given by any person who undertakes to bury the donor, including the commander of the unit or head of the hospital. Also, the law completely removes the right to appoint its authorized representative who, after the death of a person, can report whether the person gave consent to posthumous donation. But that's not all. April 14, 2022, in the midst of a military conflict, Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine adopted Law Number 5610, exempting the transplantation of anatomical materials from value-added tax. And in the economy, those goods that are exported are usually exempt from value-added tax. And the goal is clear: to reduce the cost and increase competitiveness. True, it is not clear why this is suddenly concerning to the government of Ukraine.